this position. And if things just kind of go downhill, you're gonna have to pick yourself back up and just, with the help of people, of course, like the board members, we have to help each other out.
I've got a question. So, Jesse, you have been involved with just about every club, other club in Alianza. What, in your opinion, are the other groups' honest views and opinions of PASS? And as external vice president, what would you do to change or improve upon those opinions, if any such change is necessary?
From an honest point of view, a lot of the bigger clubs like Kava and Puso, they see PASS as the smallest Alianza org. And because of that, they kind of like sway away from it, because the bigger orgs, they're a lot clickier. And because of the sheer magnitude and the size of the clubs, it kind of just dilutes the presence of both Fusion and PASS. And already just like having the connections and having them being already made for the other orgs, having just a presence in them already, specifically Puso and Fusion in my case, then it's not going to be as hard to kind of just have them come out and come to a PASS event. Because usually they want somebody that they know. They want somebody that can kind of just speak out for themselves and have them, invite them to a meeting that's very welcoming. So I feel like having my experiences already in a lot of the other Alianza orgs and having friendships made in those orgs, I feel like it wouldn't be too much of a hassle. I just have to really be welcoming.
What are some skills that you learned from your other intern programs, and how would you apply them should you become EVP?
Through Puso, I learned to be a lot more social and a lot more engaging with people that I knew. Through Fusion, I learned to be a lot more professional, a lot more diligent with my work, and to kind of just plan things out. To combine both of those, I think to be an EVP, you need both. You need to be very diligent and you need to be very engageful. And in a way, kind of just present yourself with a lot of confidence, with a lot of, not more so like cheer forwards, but just a lively attitude where people will remember you. And I feel like just through those experiences and through those 2 internships, I acquired that, and I'm going to be using that for my benefit for possibly the position next year.
Mr. President.
So my question is, well, being a board member, like, or especially like, should you attain the position of EVP, and like face the possibility that you may end up with a very small board? There's going to be times, or there's going to be a lot of times where all the work that's being passed around becomes like overwhelming. You have a lot of events that come up. Some quarters are more busy than others. My question is, like, how do you plan on handling that stress? Like, what's one stressful situation or overwhelming situation that you've been in, and like, how did you handle that?
Definitely procrastinating is a big fault in a lot of people with planning, when it comes to planning events. And an example of that would be my senior year, we had a kind of a dining in formal event for my ROTC. And my leadership kind of didn't really take into account how close it was coming up. And because of that, we wasted more time procrastinating with other events. And the dinner itself wasn't as grand as we wanted it to be. So just coming from experiences, procrastinating will really be something we need to tackle as a board, because just getting it done as soon as possible, just sending out emails and doing as much as you can beforehand will really help out with just the overwhelming sheer workload.
President.
Okay, I got another one that's kind of similar. Well, yeah. So there is a very likely possibility, or should you end up being like the only person on executive board? Like, how do you plan on handling like all those responsibilities and taking them up? Because like you're holding 5 positions. How do you plan on like making it work?
I don't know yet. We'll see. But when I say that, I don't mean that in a very like unencouraging way. I mean that in a very, I want to see what will happen. I want to see what the most that I can do with the people that I have and the friends that will be with me. I'll do the very best that I can. Although it seems really difficult and challenging, I'll take that challenge and I'll take it to heart.
Building off of that a little bit, seeing as you may be taking a very, very prominent role as leader in PASS, what would you do in a situation that arises wherein a board member, or maybe an intern, or even a general member, is not pulling their weight in terms of work, or is otherwise being a disruptive or an unproductive presence within the club and is dragging down the professionalism of the rest of the club members? How will you deal with that situation, and how will you work with your board to resolve it?
If it's something, a very serious issue, then we have to direct that to whomever may be on the board for next year, and then from there on, we'll discuss what will happen to that certain individual. But if it's just within the club itself, then obviously we'd have to talk to that one person, kind of like on a one-on-one basis, just to see what's happening. Maybe there may be issues happening with in their lives and they don't really know how to handle it. So just talking it through with them and maybe just seeing their point of view. Because although they might be being disruptive or disrespectful in the org, it may not always be for the reasons you might think. So just definitely talking to them, seeing what's up, and if there is definitely like just a lot of hate going towards PASS, then we'd have to politely ask that person to just to not come again to PASS. So yeah.
Going off with his question, I'm assuming you were directing it to a general member. However, what if this was a board member or an intern?
If they aren't pulling their weight and if they aren't doing the responsibilities that are held under their position, then obviously consequences are going to be put into place. Let's say they aren't doing their job and they've missed their deadlines, and more than one strike has been found out. Then obviously we're going to have to drop them from that position because they aren't as passionate or motivated to keep that position and do their responsibilities. So if anything, that'll be taken into account, and through their mistakes, we're going to have to kind of just rebuild up and do what we can to do what they were missing. Marisol?
Following up with that question, sorry, there's like, in PASS, there's a thing that kind of goes around where it's just like PASS's family. So let's say you do end up dropping someone from your board, how will you handle that?
So family and work should be handled very differently. If it's your work, if it's your responsibility, then if you don't want to do it, then you don't want to do it. But when it comes to family, then it should obviously be a different kind of relationship outside of the work that you're doing. So if they can't handle the workload and if they have a lot of things going on for them, then maybe PASS just wasn't for them. But of course, we're always going to have that connection with them. They're always going to be family, no matter what.
Any further questions?
Out of the 5 pillars PASS has, which one do you personally value the most? And how will you kind of address that pillar for next year should you assume this position?
I want to say professionalism, just because you guys really indulged in that pillar for this year, and you guys wanted to keep that, keep it alive. And I want to be professional as much as I can for the upcoming year, because it's something that a lot of the other Alianza orgs don't pertain to as much. So when I think of professionalism and underneath the Alianza orgs, I always think of PASS. One, because I always see Francis dressed up. And because you guys always hold those values. So professionalism is something I want to always hold dear and true now.
Mr. President?
How would you define professionalism? Because everyone has a different definition, and I feel like the way you pursue it is also very important.
Professionalism, the way I define it is you kind of, let's see, you show and you kind of just develop your organization in a very, I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Being in a professional setting and PASS being very reliant on professionalism as one of their pillars, I think the way I would define professionalism would be not really like in a serious tone, but be in a very business-like. Be very business-like in your work ethics, and have, how do I say it? Be very